I know I'm gonna be a hard sell because I'm a trans woman, I'm a sex worker, I'm pro Black Lives Matter.
I'm everything that law enforcement doesn't like. And I am the face of a new system.
She is someone that we can relate to.
She is the right person to be running, and that's why I absolutely support her.
I feel like they are going to make it difficult for the fact that she is a transgender woman.
I'm a sadist against police brutality. It's not at all contradictory to be doing what I do and be against brutality of any kind.
Are you gonna vote for her?
I'll vote for her, yes.
Hi, I'm Freyja Odinsdottir. I'm running as a writing independent candidate for Sheriff of Denton County, Texas. The joke is that Denton is weird because it's divided pretty much equally between progressive liberals and actual KKK members. Denton County has never elected a non-Republican candidate for anything, to the extent now that non-Republicans don't run. And once you've won the Republican primary, you're running unopposed. I was in law enforcement for 4 years. I was a corrections officer. I served on the special operations team, and I was a supervisor over booking and intake, and also the pretrial facility. Specific things that I saw were just kind of the casual covering up of things that happened. There's one example that I think of a lot. There was a female inmate who was acting rowdy in one of the housing units. And one of the other supervisors came in, and there was no reason to put hands on her at that point. Like, verbal commands and officer presence hadn't even been used. He just came in and immediately went hands on. And when he grabbed her, his hands both went under her shirt and grabbed her breasts. She said this, she made a report about this, and it was completely covered up. The footage was erased, the reports were never written, everything was just swept under the rug.
Did you ask like a supervisor about
I did.
What did they tell you?
That didn't happen. And I'd seen the camera footage. I'd watched it happen. Tracy Murphy is the current sheriff of Denton County and the incumbent Republican candidate. I made a post about him and his comments about beating up trans women in bathrooms and about different things that were going on in the jail and the unsanitary conditions and how just absolutely inhumane it is there. When the pandemic happened, he refused to give masks to inmates. He hasn't been taking the pandemic seriously, and that bothers me. I'm also aware, as a former law enforcement officer who's seen good cops, that there are good cops. I just know that they also can't succeed in the current system. I see both sides of the picture. I see how the marginalized communities look at law enforcement, and I know how to address that and say, like, hey, if I do this, you can look at it differently. On June 1st, when the Black Lives Matter protests picked up after COVID started, I was the first person arrested. I put myself and my riot shield between a line of advancing officers and a young black woman that didn't want to move. Shortly after I was arrested, I was approached by several politically minded friends that were like, "You should run for sheriff." And I said, "I missed the deadline." That was the end of that. And then in August, I was contacted by my friend Deb Armenter, who said that yes, I had missed the actual deadline as a regular candidate on the ballot, but I hadn't missed the writing candidate deadline. I said, "Is there anybody else that can run?" The short answer ended up being no, nobody else is willing to do it. I would have preferred somebody else to run because I am not a politician. I know I'm gonna be a hard sell because I'm a trans woman, I'm liberal, and because I'm a sex worker. I've always wanted to get into porn since I was like a kid, which is a weird thing to say, but not when you think about the fact that I'm an absolute slut. This is an anal hook, combines with rope bondage, a couple of leashes. These are the more extreme restraints, handcuffs and shackles. I bet you can guess where I got those from. I derive not just sexual, but like spiritual pleasure from causing physical pain. It's a meat tenderizer. I like beating people for money. So I'm going to make a business out of this. And so now I charge $250 an hour at a base rate. I do things with consent. And I do things that the people that I work with or play with, I do things that they want. To me, it's not at all contradictory to be doing what I do and be the kind of person that I am and be against brutality of any kind. I'm doing this in large part for the sex worker community because as sheriff, I can stop prosecution and arrest of consensual sex work.
Today is the annual Denton Women's March, and it's being put on this year by the Black Rights Organization, so it's connected to the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'm speaking today at some point.
Next, we are going to introduce Miss Freyja Odinsdottir, write-in candidate for Denton County Sheriff.
It's a lot smaller up here than I thought it was going to be. Hello, my name's Freyja Odinsdottir. I'm running for Denton County Sheriff. I'm a write-in candidate. I'm probably going to repeat a lot of the information you've heard already, but I'm running because the system is broken. I'm running because law enforcement in this country is broken. The current sheriff won't enforce the mask mandate. The current sheriff doesn't care about a pandemic happening in his facility. Inmates have died. Imagine if that was your brother, or your sister, or your daughter, or your son, or your father, or your mother. I can't force people to have integrity, and I define integrity as doing the right thing even if nobody's looking. I can't force every officer and every human being to have integrity. But if I can make sure you're monitored 24/7, if you're not going to do the right thing when nobody's looking, guess what? I'm going to be looking all the time. No more qualified immunity. I have been in violent occupation since I was 15 years old, bouncing illegally in New York City. I have had guns pointed in my face. I have been shot at by handguns. I have been shot at by snipers in Afghanistan. I have faced death throughout all of my careers. And let me tell you this. I have never once felt in fear for my life. You know why? Because when I punched into work that day, I knew there was a real chance I wouldn't go home. And that's the attitude, that's the mentality you need to bring to work. If you're scared to die, you don't belong in an occupation where that's a possibility. Thank you.
Good luck to Freyja.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My husband wrote her in, and I'm going to write her in when.
But she just seems so genuine, and I really liked it.
Yeah, she touched on a lot of really important topics and things that really do need to be discussed right now.
Her ideas are spot on about law enforcement, about how to run that jail.
Well, it's going to be a challenge, but I do believe she has a high chance of getting in.
I get messages on Facebook every day from people that are like, I've never voted in any election before, but I'm voting now. And I voted for you. And I'm voting because of you. My campaign is called Freyja for All, where I'm standing up for everybody. It's not just for the third party, not just for minorities.
Keep your laws off my body! Keep your laws off my body!
I'm not getting into this for my own benefit. I'm not getting into this because I want to go on a power trip or have authority. I'm doing this because change needs to happen. I'm doing this because the people in my community have asked me to. Because there's violence built into the way law enforcement exists now, and that should not be.